Hey, this is Dan from LearningCameras.com. I've got a HP Envy 15, the new one with the Radiance display. I also have the HP Envy 14 on the left. Just wanted to do a review of the 15, kind of show you the 14 too, and some of the new changes. Overall, I love the computer. It's a very, very nice computer, especially considering the price. There are coupon codes often available, and those will help out quite a bit. When I first got it, packaging, absolutely beautiful. Everything is top-notch, top quality. You really can't get better than that. Now, when I first opened it up, I will say I was a little bit disappointed by the lid. First of all, it's very easy to scratch. You're going to have to be careful. It looked like it had a nick in it when I first got it, but a very, very small one, only because I was looking very carefully. Did I see it? And I still don't even know if it was a nick in there. It gets fingerprints very, very easily. It gets dirty very, very easily. It's it's not glossy. You can't see a reflection in it or anything like that, but it definitely can get dirty very easily, and it somewhat looks like it could be plastic from far away, even though it is a very, very nice metal. It does have a good amount of flex in it, something to consider. But overall, I mean, it's sturdy and it's very, very nice, and the edges are very, very nice. It just gets a little bit dirty. And contrast to that, the old model, which had this pattern on it, it also has a good amount of flex on it, but this pattern means that if you scratched it, you honestly couldn't tell, even if you had a very, very bad nick on it. Also, you can't put fingerprints on this. It really just doesn't show anything. So while the new look is a little bit more modern, I guess I probably like it a little bit more. It just doesn't have that quality feel, and it definitely shows scuffs much, much easier. Now, that's where the negative ends. You can see that even though this is a bigger computer, it is right about the same height. It's actually a little bit thinner than the old model. If I can kind of show you the differences there. And it is just a little bit thinner. It is, I mean, a tiny bit heavier, but hard to notice. Both are not the lightest computer. Now, when you open it up, overall it looks very, very nice on the inside. Very MacBook Pro, but it has this red ring inside of it that kind of separates it. Overall, a very, very clean design. A large trackpad. You do have your volume control over here. I love that. Also a mute toggle switch and your power switch. Other than that, everything else is just a keyboard. I'm going to open up the HP Envy 14 beside it. It is not quite as clean looking just because of the design that is on the lid that works very well for the lid is also taking place on the inside. And that's just not the cleanest design. It does have some, it has some designs to it, which makes it just not as clean looking. It's also darker with the dark keyboard, which means you don't have quite as stark of a difference on there. Trackpads on both are about the same to use. I was hoping they had improved it quite a bit. There were some lag issues sometimes with two-finger scrolling or three-finger gestures, and those are, for the most part, continued. I will say there's a lot of customizing that you can do with the trackpad, and overall I've gotten it very, very nice that I like it a lot. Now, the speakers in the new HP Envy are absolutely amazing. It is the loudest and best sounding speaker system I've ever seen in a laptop computer. And there might be some better out there, but it is nowhere near what the HP Envy 14 is. Much better than the HP Envy 14. Much better than virtually everything out there, if not everything else out there. It's still a laptop, so you're not going to see anything like what you would hear from headphones, but it is absolutely amazing. You will see similar looks to both of them. The speakers on this one are just out on the front. The speakers on this one all throughout this right here, and also you have them, I think they have some subwoofers in here as well. The keyboards feel very, very different. The HP Envy 14, very light, feeling. I will say over time, some of these keys have kind of felt like they could stick a little bit because it was just so light feeling. It's not a lot of pushback, so it doesn't take a lot to make them stick. They don't stick. They overall feel very, very nice. I've had it for about 6 months, but they just feel a little bit like it. The new one, they're very, very stiff keys. It took some getting used to. You have to push them down all the way for them to register. It overall feels very, very nice and much, much better. But if you were a speed typer, you might notice it and you might not like it as much. Also, if you are doing heavy gaming, do know that the arrow keys, these up-down arrow keys, can get a little tough to press versus the old one. I'm not sure why they really did that. They extended the shift key. The shift key on the HP Envy 14 is plenty big. I don't know that they needed to increase it any more than that. The bottom, I do believe the bottom is a plastic. It's the same on both computers for the most part. Very, very similar. Overall, very nice. Still feels very, very, very good. Some of the best feeling plastic I've ever felt. Now, one thing that was very important is some people have been complaining that on the new HP Envy 15 there's a little bit of loss of red. And I'm going to pull up a color wheel on both of these. And see if you can see the difference. I'm not sure how it'll look in the video, but you might be able to see the differences between the two screens. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more just on that part, and hopefully that comes across in the camera. It's not bad. You wouldn't notice it. It's not that red doesn't exist at all. It just looks a little orangey. I did download the new tool that they have. It doesn't really do much of anything. Overall, though, this screen is much, much nicer. You can see, you should be able to see in the video, the contrast on the Radiance display on the HP Envy 15 is amazing. Blacks look black. It is 1080p. It is one of the best looking screens I've ever seen on a laptop. Very, very, very good. If you're doing accurate color work, you might not like it until they fix the reds. If you do see it as a problem, you can still, I mean, those colors still show. You can still see distinct differences between red and orange. They just have a little more of an orange tint than a red. But actually on the HP Envy 14, they kind of have a little bit more of a pink to them. So I think it's just the way it does its colors. I don't really think it's something that is too much of a big deal. But overall, though, the screen is absolutely amazing. In operation, I like it a lot. I've got the quad-core 2.5 gigahertz processor in it. It flies through everything. I do also have the hybrid drive. Losing my battery on that one. I do have the hybrid drive on it. Makes it much faster to load things the second time around. For the most part, you don't see a huge difference the first time you load it, but the second time is a big difference. Also, I do have it with 8 gigs of memory, and it flies through everything. I run Photoshop, Premiere Pro, I do CAD applications, and overall everything just flies on the HP Envy 15. So everything is, let me show you one other thing that I did notice that was a little bit weird. The power cord for the HP Envy 14, the power brick, is very, very small, very light. It's got a USB plug also in it, which is very, very nice. Helped a lot. Anytime you need to plug in a phone, you don't need to carry the wall part of the unit, just a regular USB cord. I keep one of those in my laptop bag. The new one, much bigger. Stack those up against each other. Much bigger, much fatter, much heavier. It also doesn't have the USB. It's a very, very long cord, very, very nice cord, well built. I'm not sure why they had to go with a bigger unit. It is it was kind of a bummer when I opened it, because that was one of the things I loved about the HP Envy 14, is that it had such a small power cable to it. So that was one thing that was unfortunate. Hinges are very solid, very nice. Build quality is exceptional. Everything has been great on this computer. I would recommend it. The only little things I would complain about were the lid. It will show fingerprints. It'll never look as good as the day you get it. Also, the trackpad is not quite as good as a MacBook Pro, but it's just about as good as anything else out there. Speaker system is better than anything else. Display is very great. Overall, a very nice computer, and I'd recommend it. Do have USB 3.0, HDMI, display port, plenty of outputs. HP does sell converter cables to get for things like VGA and DVI, but they're very expensive. You could probably get those third-party very inexpensively. I will say it's a little bit noisier than the HP Envy 14, where the fan kicks in a little bit more. That's probably due to the quad-core processor at 2.5 gigs. It does take a little bit more power. The battery life has still been very good, 3 hours to 5 hours depending on what I'm doing, and that's with the quad-core. I get a little bit more than that on the 14, the HP Envy 14, mostly due to the fact that has the i5 rather than the i7, so it's a lot less power hungry. What else? Overall, though, the computer feels very cool to the touch, even with a quad core. The fan hardly ever kicks on. When it does, it's very mild. It's not loud. Fan almost never kicks on the HP Envy 14. It does sometimes on the 15, but it is still very quiet, very soft. Nothing that you would really notice, even in a very quiet room. So overall, I think you'd like the computer. If you have any questions, feel free to sound off, and I'll see if I can get them answered. Thanks a lot.